At 26 and balling out for Newcastle, it is no surprise that Bruno Guimaraes is on the list of many of the top clubs. He is an all-action midfielder and a perfect fit for any team. It seems like Pep and Arteta are going to battle it out like they did for Declan Rice to secure the Brazilian signature this summer. And whoever managed to get his signature is going to be so lucky. As we've seen with Declan Rice at Arsenal, when both these teams go head to head to sign someone, they're a special player. Anyway, let's get into why Bruno Guimaraes would be perfect for Arsenal. We as Arsenal fans know that there is a gap in that left central midfield position. And although Declan Rice has been fantastic there, Kai Havertz has filled in there as well, it still feels we miss some qualities of a proper midfielder in there. Somebody who is so good on the ball, but also someone who can defend and create. Diving deeper into Guimaraes' numbers, he's covering the second furthest distance per 90 of any Newcastle player this season. He is also facing the most pressures in English top flight this season, a defensive action in which a player whose team is out of position moves to close down an opposing player in possession. Guimaraes leads the Premier League for being pressured while in possession, ahead of Manchester City's Rodri and significantly ahead of Aston Villa's Ezri Konsa in third place. Rodri is perhaps slightly better under pressure, losing the ball to a turnover just 4.8% of the time, whereas Guimaraes has lost possession to a turnover from a press on 9.7% of occasions. But what this shows is that Bruno Guimaraes is really secure on the ball, and Arsenal have the ball a lot of the time, and they come up against teams that sit in mid-blocks where they kind of half press. So having someone who's press resistance like Bruno Guimaraes in a team where there's multiple options and multiple passes for him to play, it would be a dream come true. Say he was to lose the ball, that wouldn't be much of an issue at Arsenal, because he'd then have Declan Rice behind him, whose recovery pace is absolutely exceptional. And Declan Rice is one of the best anticipators in world football. So you can run that risk with Bruno Guimaraes being risky, trying to evade the press, because you know behind him you've got a top quality defensive midfielder in Declan Rice. You may have noticed on that list Martin Odegaard is there as well, who is also really good at counter presses and just retrieving and keeping the ball when pressed himself. So having two really good press resistant midfielders in Guimaraes, Odegaard and then Declan Rice behind just in case would be absolutely unstoppable for the rest of the Premier League. Arsenal unfortunately went crashing out of the Champions League, and there was a lot of questions about Arsenal's midfield and the fluidity and whether it really gelled. It felt like Bayern got into us way too easy. But if you have Bruno Guimaraes in the midfield, you are blessed. You know how Mikel Arteta loves his midfielders to be able to recover and have that energy to recover the ball, and Bruno Guimaraes is one of the best this season in the Champions League for ball recoveries. Mikel Arteta wants to build a team which has joy both in and out of possession. So having players like Bruno Guimaraes who are really technically gifted and then they have the energy and the passion to go the other way is a dream for any sort of manager. And if you have a midfield with Odegaard, Declan Rice, Guimaraes, it's balanced so well. So here is his touch map this season in the Premier League, and you can see he's played really deep for Newcastle this season, probably due to the fact that Sandro Tonali has been banned, Joe Willock injured. There's not been a lot of freedom and choice for Eddie Howe in terms of his midfielders. But it's interesting to see that he has a lot of action in the final third in that right central midfield position. But it must be noted he's equally as good on the other side, where there's a bit of a gap for us now. Bruno Guimaraes can really be profiled as a deep-lying playmaker. He can create from deep. We've seen him play some beautiful passes into his teammates. If you remember the Newcastle versus Tottenham game this season at St James Park, he played a lumptious ball over the top into Isak. And those are the sort of runs that Kai Havertz makes, so you can already see the sort of link up we would see between those two. And yes, a lot of Arsenal fans have criticised Bruno Guimaraes for his antics, saying they don't want somebody with that sort of attitude, but I actually think differently. We need more people like Bruno Guimaraes, those people that annoy you are a bit of a prickly character on the pitch. Because if you want to win, you need to be feisty. And adding someone like Bruno Guimaraes with that feistiness, I think it would be very, very good for us. We need to just put aside what he's done for Newcastle, and if he was to come to the club, I really guarantee it would be perfect. We'd have a midfield that can compete both in the league, but also in the Champions League. And what you guys may be forgetting is that Bruno Guimaraes actually has a release clause in his contract. He signed a new contract with Newcastle not too long ago, but if Champions League clubs want to contact him, want to sign him, they can by just paying that release clause. And we know how good Mikel Arteta is at convincing players to join his project. So I don't think that would be too much of a roadblock. So Gunners, what do you think? Bruno Guimaraes, do you think he can be that perfect midfielder for Arsenal? I certainly think he can.